Hi everyone! It's time for the Industrial Cyber Weekly Roundup with me, Bailey, as your host. So let's go through the newest breakthroughs in industrial cybersecurity. As interconnected critical infrastructure networks crisscross national borders and global supply chains, they're becoming increasingly complex while turning into distributed, large-scale cyber-physical systems. Cyber-physical attacks are increasing in number, scope, and sophistication, making it difficult to predict their total impact. To deal with the evolving threat landscape and geopolitical implications of recent cyber attacks, stakeholders across critical infrastructure sectors must be reminded that critical infrastructure protection is more imperative than ever. Unfortunately, many organizations still don't realize its significance and remain unprepared to tackle cyber risks. Experts pointed to basic elements that contribute to critical infrastructure protection, such as knowing the organization, understanding the threats and their impacts, being very aware of the threats, implementing basic cyber and physical hygiene, developing plans for every potential hazard, and then communicating the plans and exercising them regularly. They also called upon organizations to know their assets and which ones are most critical, know their risks, particularly the ones that impact the most critical assets. They also suggest performing a consequence impact analysis and prioritizing threat protection for the most high-impact consequences, which could or should involve INL consequence-driven, cyber-informed engineering to engineer out as much of the risk as possible. The move seeks to ensure that every agency is increasing the security of public services and working towards implementing President Joe Biden's Executive Order 14028, as well as delivering on other federal measures. The budget will provide an additional $145 million for CISA for a total of $3.1 billion. This includes $98 million to implement the Cyber Incident Reporting for Critical Infrastructure Act of 2021 and $425 million to improve CISA's internal cybersecurity and analytical capabilities. The President's National Infrastructure Advisory Council has emphasized that the security and resilience of the nation's critical infrastructure depend on collaboration across sectors. The NIAC report identified significant barriers that impede effective collaboration and analyzed these barriers, presenting recommendations to address them. It concludes that standards governing the security and resilience of critical infrastructure assets should be mandatory. The NSA released a cybersecurity information sheet that helps system operators mature identity, credential, and access management capabilities to mitigate certain cyber threat techniques. The initiative further discusses how these capabilities are integrated into a comprehensive zero-trust framework while providing system owners and operators the ability to identify, resist, and respond to various cyber intrusion techniques. The zero-trust model assumes that a breach is inevitable or already occurred, so it constantly limits access to only what is needed and looks for anomalous or malicious activity. The CISA, FBI, and MS-ISAC published a cybersecurity advisory that multiple cyber threat actors, including an APT actor, exploited a .NET desterialization vulnerability in progress to Lyric user interface for ASP.NET AJAX. Exploitation of the vulnerability allowed malicious hackers to execute remote code on a federal civilian executive branch agency's Microsoft Internet Information Services web server. The agencies revealed that the hackers had remote access to the web server from last November through early January this year. The CISA set up a ransomware vulnerability warning pilot program to determine vulnerabilities commonly associated with known ransomware exploitation and warn critical infrastructure entities of those vulnerabilities, enabling mitigation before damaging intrusions occur. The lead security agency will use the RVWP program to proactively identify information systems belonging to critical infrastructure entities that contain vulnerabilities commonly associated with ransomware intrusions. It will also notify the owners of the affected systems, enabling them to begin mitigation activities. CISA partnered with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Engineer Research and Development Center to develop the Marine Transportation System Resilience Assessment Guide. The document will be used by federal agencies, local governments, and industry decision-makers to manage risk and enhance resilience to critical infrastructure systems and functions through conducting resilience assessments. The MTS Guide also organizes multiple methodologies and port resilience assessment tools to support resilience planning. The FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center has seen an increase in additional extortion tactics used to facilitate ransomware in 2022, as the number of reported ransomware incidents has decreased. The hackers pressure victims to pay by threatening to publish the stolen data if they do not pay the ransom. The IC3 report comes in the wake of the cyber landscape providing ample opportunities for criminals and adversaries to target U.S. networks, attack critical infrastructure, hold money and data for ransom, facilitate large-scale fraud schemes, and threaten national security. The report further assessed that ransomware remains a serious threat to the public and to our economy, and the FBI and its partners will remain focused on disrupting ransomware actors and increasing the risk of engaging in this activity. The U.S. Department of Defense released the 2023 through 2027 DoD Cyber Workforce Strategy, which sets the foundation for how the agency will foster a cyber workforce capable of executing the department's complex and varied cyber missions. The DoD CWF strategy will enable the defense agency to close workforce development gaps, resource workforce management and development initiatives, stay at the forefront of technological advances, securely and rapidly deliver resilient systems, and transform into a data-centric enterprise with optimized workforce analytics. The DoD CWF strategy utilizes 4 human capital pillars: identification, recruitment, development, and retention to identify and group cyber workforce challenges. The TSA published a 30-day notice in the Federal Register, announcing that the Transport Agency has forwarded an information collection request to the OBM seeking an extension of the currently approved collection. The information collection request extension deals with information collection activity under OBM review covering cybersecurity measures for surface modes, describes the nature of the information collection, and its expected burden. Eclectic IQ researchers disclosed that they found multiple Kamikakabot malware, which were very likely used last month to target government entities in Southeast Asia. The team assesses that the attacks were very likely carried out by the Dark Pink APT group. Kamikakabot's primary function is to steal data stored in web browsers, such as Chrome, Edge, and Firefox, including saved credentials, browsing history, and cookies. Additionally, the hackers can gain initial access to infected devices to execute remote code. Cisco Talos researchers spotted a new online threat actor, Eurotrooper, that has been carrying out espionage operations since June 2022. The researchers said that the main targets are government or energy organizations in Azerbaijan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and other Commonwealth of Independent States. Based on analysis, the malware is distributed through social engineering, spear phishing, data exfiltration, and using custom and commodity malware. They also observed Eurotrooper compromise accounts from at least 2 international organizations. Radiflow collaborated with Komatsu Group to strengthen the resilience and security of industrial infrastructures in any sector, recognizing cybersecurity as a core strategic business pillar. The move will identify vulnerabilities and sources of attacks by implementing comprehensive cybersecurity measures across all of Komatsu's automation system plants, including various segments such as textile systems, automobile supply chain automation, and 3D printing systems for boats. Tenable announced new capabilities within Tenable OT Security that will bring to market broader protection for OT, critical infrastructure, and ICS environments, regardless of the size of deployment or configuration of the environment. The additions will keep the CISO's organization front and center, while making it even easier to secure and maintain governance of the entire attack surface using the same tools and processes across their infrastructure. So that concludes this week's biggest news in the industrial cybersecurity space. If you're looking for more insights, news, and events in the industry, then check out industrialcyber.co. I look forward to seeing you again next week.